Well, it's been a long, hot, humid summer, but for a brief moment in time here, Mother Nature has given us a little glimpse into what's to come, hopefully, and that's cooler weather. It's the morning of Monday, August 25th right now, and for the next couple days, we've got highs in the mid-60s. All the humidity's rolled out of the area finally, and like I said, this summer has just been so hot and humid, and it just seems to be dragging on. But we are into the final home stretch here before bird season starts up, and I thought it would be a good opportunity with this cooler weather to come up north and do a little preseason ruffed grouse scouting. Now, my number one goal for this scouting trip is not to find birds. I'm sure at some point here in time we're going to come across birds this season. We cover enough ground that at some point we're going to come across birds and get into them this season. So that's not really my concern, is finding birds. What I want to do is get into some of these areas I hunt and check them out, see what they look like, because the end of last winter we had an absolute massive winter ice storm come through the area. The whole northern part of our state got hit by it, and it was like record-breaking, once-in-a-lifetime type storm, and it caused a lot of destruction and a lot of chaos in the whole northern part of our state. A lot of ice came through and just broke a lot of branches, trees, and just the sheer force it had on everything was crazy. And I haven't been up in the area since to see what it looks like, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to come up and see. And just by driving through the area last night and getting up here, I can already tell that, yeah, this season's going to be a lot different than others, just from that standpoint of how shredded the woods are in a lot of areas. So if you are planning on coming up to hunt the area this year, that is one thing to be cautious of. This is a very real and legit thing that happened, and I'm going to try and give you guys a first-hand look here over the next couple days of what these areas look like and kind of feel it out for myself and how things are looking and going to shape up for the season, because this is something to be proceeding with caution with. A lot of these woods are shredded. There's a lot of downed trees, a lot of blowdowns, a lot of debris that wasn't in the way before, and it's going to be interesting to work our way around and see how it plays out this season. A lot of trails still haven't been cleared out. A lot of paths that we normally take are covered in blowdowns and stuff like that, so I've got a chainsaw with me. That's something I'm going to carry with me probably the rest of the season if I need to clear anything out, getting into any spots, because like I said, there's a lot of debris down everywhere in the area. So come along with me for the next couple days here. I want to do some scouting, go into some of the areas I hunt and frequent, and just kind of see what they look like. Try and get the dogs on the ground, get them to sharpen up and freshen up a little bit, get some legs underneath them, and just shake off the rust a little bit. I did make it up last night, and I came through, drove around a little bit, kind of checked out some spots from the truck, and I was able to get the dogs on the ground for a short run for about 45 minutes last night. We came across one woodcock, but I wasn't really trying to get into birds or find birds. I'm just trying to see what some of these spots look like, see what I can access, what I can't access. So come along with me over the next couple days here, and we'll see what we find. And like I said, going to try and give you guys a first-hand view of kind of what some of these areas look like, what you can expect if you're going to come up here and hunt this fall, and just see how it goes. So I'm going to get to it now, get back to running dogs, get a dog out this morning, go run them through, and see what we can find. Yeti. So this is just a small little taste of what's to come. And you can see a couple blowdowns here and trees bending over the trail. The state's done a really, really good job already of clearing out this trail. You can see there's a bunch of debris on the side here that they pushed off this trail. But not every trail. Some more of the remote places that we access are probably not going to be quite as cleared as this. So just something to be thinking about if you're going to come hunt this fall. Be ready to either not get into an area to hunt or have to put in a little work to get to it. You can see all the debris that was pushed off the trail here that's on the edge of the woods. A lot of popples and aspen trees in there that are just bent over, snapped like toothpicks. Yeah, you can see here's a spot that was hit pretty hard with a lot of damage. There's a lot of areas that look like this. So I've gotten back to a spot. It's an older aspen stand, like really, really old. It's aged out. It's probably 30 plus years or so old. And there's a lot of fallen trees down in here as well. And a lot of the tops of these trees from the ice storm have completely snapped off. And they're just littered all over the ground here as well. And my one concern in spots like this is not navigating through it so much, but like today it's pretty gusty winds, upwards of 15, 20 miles an hour. And there's still quite a bit of debris that are up in the canopy and overhead. And so that's kind of what's on my mind, is this wind knocking something loose above me as I'm walking through. Yeah, I can already hear like branches clanking around up there. But yeah, just the wind knocking something loose and it falling and dropping on the dog or myself, or, you know, something like that happening. Widowmakers, or what they call them. So I'm going to go ahead and turn around here. I'm not really feeling this spot and walking through this, so I'm going to turn back and get out of this area. So just another thing to keep in mind is, you know, spots like that, or just areas that have a lot of fallen debris in them. There might be stuff in the canopy up ahead too that hasn't fallen down yet. And got to be careful on those windy days if something breaks loose or falls from above. And even like this, walking on top of this stuff, doesn't look like much, but on a cold, wet October day, if you're tired here at the end of a hunt, you come across a bunch of stuff like this on the forest floor. This is like a rolling, sprained ankle waiting to happen, stepping on this kind of stuff. This afternoon I traveled about 10 miles south of where I was last night and this morning. And honestly, this area isn't nearly beat up as bad as the area that I was previously in. I don't see as much downfall within the woods. There's just a few small trees and branches that have kind of crashed down around some of the edges, some light stuff. But outside of that, I'm not seeing huge pockets of downfalls and broken timber scattered throughout this area. So that's good to see. I mean, if you're going into a spot that you're used to hunting and it's completely destroyed, it's probably going to be worth it this year to kind of travel out another 10, 20 miles from that area, see if you can get into something else that's not quite as beat up. I'm going to imagine that I'm going to be doing a lot of that this fall, trying to find different areas to hunt, just kind of taking it as it is, seeing what things look like. And yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of travel to find areas that aren't quite as beat up, that are actually huntable this fall. So that's kind of my whole goal for this trip. I haven't found much for birds in the couple runs that I've done yesterday evening and this morning. I did end up running into one grouse this morning as I pulled into a spot mid-morning that I was going to walk a dog at, and there was a grouse just going right through the parking spot there where I parked. But outside of that, haven't ran into a whole lot of birds. I mean, it's totally different this time of year. These birds aren't doing anything close to what I'm used to them doing in October when I'm hunting them in these spots. So some of these lines that I'm running, you know, the birds aren't quite there yet, or they're doing different things at the end of August right now than they would be in the spots when I come back and hunt them in October. So like I said, my whole goal for all of this isn't to necessarily find birds. It's just kind of checking out some of these spots, see what the damage looks like, and try and give you guys a first-hand view of what that damage looks like as well, so you guys know what to expect if you're going to hunt. So with that said, I'm going to drop a couple dogs in here this evening and see what we can find. You guys ready? Okay, I guess you're ready. There's a jungle in front of me here. And somewhere in that jungle is a dog on point. Well, let's go find your friend Ember. He's on point in here. I'm getting bit up by mosquitoes just standing there. Oh, There it goes. Good girl, Ember. Nice work. Good job. Good girl. All right. The mosquito-infested jungle paid off. We got our first pointed grouse of the year. I had a pretty good look at that bird. If I had a gun, came out of this thicket right here. The dog was on point right in here. That bird flushed and crossed right across this opening, kind of where the canopy opens up right here in front of me. Good job, girl. Nice work. That gave me goosebumps. All right, let's get out of the jungle. Ember's on point in here, just off this bend. We already moved one grouse. I was sitting in here earlier. There might be another one in here. Coming back into the jungle. This is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Finding the dog on point in here. Aspen's on point too, 65 yards on the other side of the trail. Where are you at, little dog? Oh, it's a woodcock. There it goes. The dog was right in here on point, and I just about had to step on the bird. It was sitting right down in here. My GPS is telling me she's like 10 feet from me, and this is like almost waist high to me. I'm like, how am I gonna find this short little dog in here? Oh, that was cool. All right, good job, Ember. This morning I've kept traveling south a little bit, probably about 15 miles from where I was yesterday evening, and this area definitely has some damage to it. There's a lot of older aspen stands where the tops of the trees are just completely snapped off and laying on the ground. A lot of branches laying over top of the road that you got to drive underneath, and just from the eyeball test at the road driving through, this area is a little beat up, but I think it's worth stopping and trying to get a dog in here. It's not horrible, but there is a little bit of damage here in the area for sure. Driving in this morning, I actually saw a grouse on the side of the road just back here picking up grit and out feeding for the morning. So I was just thinking that the road was looking pretty good too, and thinking about running a dog down it. And then I saw that grouse standing there on the side of the road, and that confirmed my suspicions. So I'm gonna go ahead and run a dog down this trail, see if we can find any more birds coming out to this gravel road in the morning, trying to get some grit and feed a little bit, and we're gonna go from there. This area is kind of new to me. I say kind of new because I've driven through it a time or two. I've hunted a time or two around in this area, but I haven't spent a lot of time in here before. I know it's a really good area for birds, and it's always been on my radar to come check out. So I figured while I've got some time here during scouting season, I might as well drive through, see what it looks like at least, see what the damage is, and see if I can find a new spot to come back and hunt this fall or two. So I'm gonna give it a shot and see what we find. Yeti. Yeti's on point right here, right next to this blowdown. There he is right there. I gotta try and get in here. Right there. Oh, it's a woodcock. Nice work, Yeti. Good boy. Good job. Well, I haven't found any more birds yet this morning, but one of my other goals for this as well was just to kind of see what some of the food sources are looking like. And right behind me here is a cluster of hawthorn, and they're actually loaded down pretty good on this tree. There's a whole cluster of them here, right in kind of this open area. We're in probably a 15, 16-year-old cut, I think. And there's a couple clusters of these hawthorns mixed in here. And there's quite a bit of soft mass crop on them right now. They haven't ripened yet, and the birds definitely aren't feeding on them at the moment. But come sometime in October, the birds are definitely going to be using this area, you know, flying out in the mornings or the evenings to these hawthorn trees and feeding. And in a spot like this, I mean, you can see around me, it's pretty wide open. So I love spots like this from the fact that it's just like a food source that's just kind of on its own here, and a big benefit of it is it's kind of in like an open area around it. So I've got good habitat surrounding this, and then a section of food right here. So I'm going to mark this on the map, and if I'm back in this area, I'm going to make sure to swing in through here one evening in October and see if there's any birds feeding under these hawthorn trees. Well, I just left that spot of hawthorn, and the Yeti ended up going the opposite direction of me. Made a big 110-yard cast from the direction I wanted to go. He's on point. So I'm gonna make my way to him, see if he's got anything. And it looks pretty grousey around in here. That's why I was excited to find those hawthorns where I did. I'm 65 yards from him now. Keep snaking my way through here. Find him eventually. Oh, there it goes. Good boy, Yeti. Yeah, that bird was just in this blowdown right here. The dog was in front of me, just on the edge of the shadows right there. I couldn't quite see him, but my GPS was telling me he was close right here in front of me. I knew I was going to struggle finding him because these ferns are waist high. And I heard that bird take flight, and it got up right out of this blowdown right here, and I saw it cross in the opening there. I probably wouldn't have had much of a shot at it, even if I had a gun. But confirms my suspicions that there is birds in the area, and come October, those hawthorn trees are going to be the place to be in the evenings. A lot of times people are asking me, like, what kind of cover are you looking for to hunt? And a lot of times it's kind of a difficult thing to describe, so I thought I'd take a quick moment here to try and show you guys exactly kind of what I look for. And what's behind me right here actually sets up almost perfectly for what I like to see. And that's kind of just an open area that has some little pockets and islands. There's some aspen, some pines, hawthorn, a lot of raspberry thickets as well growing up. I really like this style of hunting, of looking for these pockets, because it's easy to get through and it's easy to find objectives to hunt. I can go into kind of an open area that has these small little pockets throughout it, and I know in those pockets and islands, that's where the birds are going to be. So I can just kind of snake my way through navigating this easy open ground and just go from pocket to pocket. And there's usually birds in these pockets, and I can get good shots because it's open areas. It's not a pain in the ass for me and the dog to get through. And it just, I don't know, it's a weird thing to describe, I guess. And it's kind of taken me a few years to try and pinpoint exactly what these areas look like. And it's something I've taken some time to try and get the system down of how I like to hunt and find these areas. And it's taken me handful of years to get the eye of what to look for, but I feel like I'm pretty comfortable going into finding a spot like what's behind me here, and for the most part gonna find some birds in it. I'm not gonna have high numbers of birds, but I'm gonna get good shooting opportunities, and the birds that we do find are gonna be pretty easy to get to. And I also like these kind of spots because it's not like your traditional style looking cover. This isn't just like a big aspen stand with some pines and hardwoods on the edge where you think you'd work down the edge of the aspen and the edge of a cut and try and find birds. It's just kind of an oddball looking cover. It's not something you would just drive by and see this open area with these little pockets in it and go, there's probably some grouse in there. But over time, I've spent a lot of time walking through spots like this, and I've found, you know, pretty good opportunities at birds in spots like this. So especially towards the end of September through mid-October, these are the areas that I look for before all the leaf cover and things like that come down, because you still have all the ferns, the sweetgrass, a lot of vegetation, raspberries, things like that growing up around in these areas. And these little pockets like this are just, they can be fire for me, you know, come mid-October, beginning of October to mid-October. So just wanted to share that with you guys real quick. Just kind of one of the spots that I look for when I'm going hunting in October for grouse. Yeti's on point right off the side of the trail here. Looks grousey, and yep, there he is right there. He's really serious about something. I'm gonna cut in front of him, see if I can snake my way in here before whatever he's pointing flushes. There's a big pine tree right there. I can see his head poking out from the other side of that pine tree. Only problem is it's tough to get in here right now, because all the debris that fell on the road, they pushed off to the side here. I think I can make it in here. Maybe there's a woodcock sitting in here. Yep. There it goes. Good job, Yeti. Good boy. Yeah, this little spot here took a beating. This is just a small stand of aspen. You can see there's a lot of trees that are just bent right over. Handful of them that are snapped in half. A few big brush piles around in here. This is what the woods are gonna look like this fall. Well, this is gonna wrap up my couple-day scouting trip that I've had here. Couple takeaways from all of this is that there is a lot of damage, a lot of things to be cautious of in spots, but there's also a lot of areas that are still accessible and still huntable. I haven't had any issues getting down any of the roads or trails. Most of them are pretty well maintained, groomed roads and trails to begin with. So the state's done a really good job of making sure that there's plenty of good access around. I'm sure that if you get into some more remote spots that aren't traveled to as much, you're probably gonna run into some more issues with things across trails and down trees and branches, just because those areas are a little harder to access and just aren't maintained like most of the normal trails and roads are around here. But nonetheless, plenty of places to hunt still. But like I said, there's just a few things to be cautious of this season. A few more curveballs in the woods than we're used to. This is going to be not just a lasting effect for this year, but for years to come. In a way, I feel like it's going to be a good thing for the grouse and habitat overall, because a lot of the treetops that were broken in some of these older areas, it's going to allow for more sunlight to come down to the forest floor and for new regrowth to happen. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out in the next decade in some of these spots for the birds. I think it's going to be a pain in the butt for us hunters right now, but in the long run, it's going to be good for the birds, because Mother Nature is the best manager of the forest, and she always does a good job of making sure, you know, things are in balance and things are in line. So I think overall this was, you know, like I said, a pain in the butt for hunters and all the people that had to deal with the storm, but it's going to be good things that happen in the long run. Just kind of my thoughts on that. So like I said, if you're coming up to northern Michigan to hunt this year, just proceed with caution, be careful with yourself, your dog, be alert, and just, you know, be aware of your surroundings and what's in front of you. I know this video wasn't filled with a bunch of bird packed action. We did run into a few birds, got a few new spots checked on the map for this fall that I'm gonna come back and try and hunt. And anyway, season is right around the corner. I'm sick and tired of summer. I know you guys probably gotta be itching like myself to get back in the woods and go hunting this fall. And it's here, we're in the home stretch now. So 3 weeks from now, we'll be back. Opening day will be here September 15th, and that's probably gonna be the next video. So I'll catch up with you guys then. You guys stay safe out there, and best of luck this season.